Hi, welcome back. I'm Joe, and this is the Ultimate Love Letter. Thank you for joining the conversation. And welcome back to the States. So, our journey abroad in Europe and Asia ended yesterday. And so I found myself back home in Hollywood. And I just want to thank those that followed the journey this summer. It was incredibly life-changing. And I certainly want to get into all that in our future conversations. But today I want to discuss something that really occurred to me yesterday, and that is waiting on God. So, as I arrived yesterday into LAX, I was feeling very depressed. I was excited when I left Bali. I was excited to see my beautiful man. I was excited to connect again with family. But when I touched back down into LA, just the feeling of, a little bit of misalignment. And, I spoke about that when I was in Bali, that I had never felt up until that point so completely and totally aligned with my environment, where I was, the work I was doing, 100% alignment. There was all the boxes were checked off. And so coming back to LA was a bit bittersweet, although it is clear that my time here is limited. And for that, I am so grateful. And that will lead to the conversation. So my mom collected me from the airport. And, I think about it all the time, should have been documenting all my arrivals back to LA just through the years from all my travels, because my mom always picks me up. It's just a thing that has become tradition, and I wish I would have started recording these and make something out of it, because it's just a beautiful tradition. She picks me up, we go for lunch, we talk a little bit about the travels. And so yesterday was no different. Although there was a little bit of difference, she could sense my energy was a little low. And as she asked, what's going on? I just broke down at that point. And I just said 5 words. I don't want to be here. And I've never said that before. I love LA. LA will forever be my home. I will always have a home here. This will be my foundation. I will die here. I want to die in LA at home. This is where I was born. This is where I want to die. But it's not necessarily where I want to live the majority of my life. The intention that I've set with God is that I will live the most of my life abroad. And I will be coming back home to LA is where I'll vacation. Life abroad is not a vacation for me, although I know it looks like that, but really, I'm home when I'm abroad. I feel like I'm working deeper when I'm away. I feel the most freer the further away I am from home. I can't explain that, but I feel like a bird, exploring and just being expansive. So, God bless those who never leave home. In my opinion, you don't know what you're missing. You grow the most when you're abroad, when you are away from your hometown, when you're away from the States. If this is your home country, do yourself a service and go to a faraway land, experience different cultures. It will grow you in ways that schooling cannot grow you. It will grow you deeper in your faith walk, whatever that faith will be. Get away from home. Do yourself a favor and go. Go boldly. And So as I broke down, with my mom, and I just said those words, and I told her all that I'm telling you, like, I'm figuring it out with God. I'm to come home and I'm to figure out my next steps, because I'm destined to spend the majority of my time away from the States. And my mom just said, well, that's easy. You can just pack up and go. Why don't you just go? And that's the thing. That is actually the concern with most of society. Yes, on the surface, it would look like I can just pack up and go. But that is not how I move. I move with God. So it is on God's term. It is for God to tell me when to go, if I can even go, and then where to go. But I have to wait on God. And, my mother is a Christian, quote unquote, religious woman, goes to church, a part of church, all those beautiful things. But yet again, that is society's way of being, quote unquote, religious. You just basically go through the motions. And I'm not saying this is my mother, but you just go through the motions. You go to church, you show your face, you praise God, you give your donations. But when it comes to life and really following God and really waiting on God, that type of faith, only a few of us have. A few. And I'm going to say it, 1%. When we talk about the top 1%, the wealthiest people in the world, I'm going to say the ones that follow God wholeheartedly, 1%. 1%. And I mean waiting on God, really in collaboration with God, really only going when God approves you to go, really staying put when God tells you to stay put. And for me to hear that from my mother, like, you can just pick up and go, I'm just like, you don't even know me. Like, the last few years of my life, have I ever just done things out of things I want to do? Or has this life, my life, been an example of me waiting on God and only going where God says to go and doing those things that God says to do? So no, even though, yes, I want to be abroad, and yes, I can come home and pack up my shit and go, but I have to collaborate with God. Like, do I go this weekend? Do I go next month? Do I go next year? I don't know. I have to get clear and listen for my next steps. And the only one who's going to give me those next steps is my God. Not my mama, not my daddy, not even me. God. That's what it means to wait on God. It means literally waiting on God. It doesn't mean you decide what you want to do and you go do it. That's how crap happens. That's how misalignment happens. That's when you go down a road you weren't supposed to go down, and it's rough, it's hard, it's riddled with pain and fear, and you wonder why you have to work so hard and you have to struggle. Because that may not be the route God asked you to take. Or maybe it's not the time he told you to take it. So, but for me, my time here, I know what to do. I am to get quiet, to get still, to get in prayer, to get in meditation, to get in journaling like I always do. Put forward my plea, which is to definitely live abroad. And honestly, it is God's destiny for me to live abroad, or I wouldn't have those desires. But it's for me to wait on God to tell me when, to tell me how, and to tell me where. That is what it means to live according to God's will. That's what it means to wait on God. I'm not talking about religion, meaning repetition, meaning you just going with the rules and making things up as you go. No. This life here is a life filled with a relationship, an intimate relationship with God. I am, as our last episode says, I am living in collaboration with God. So yes, it might have been a little bit disappointing to hear my own mother say that. But that's society, right? You want to do something, go do it. I want to go and do only those things that are in God's will. Why, you ask? Because that's when I know I'll prosper. Because that's when I know I'll be living in ease. Because that's when I know I'm in the flow. That's where magic happens. You know, I want to mention a little bit of magic that happened my last days in Bali. All the resources that I had in Bali, and I mean the food I had in the refrigerator, the gas I had in my motorbike, the body wash I had in the shower, even the deodorant that I had. It seemed like everything that I had available to me sustained me the entire time I was there. And as it was coming down to the end and to my last day to go, it's like everything, all my resources, all of the goods that I'd purchased to sustain me while I was there had dwindled down effortlessly the day I was to go. So I'm going to mention, so for instance, and it's kind of hard to explain, right? But I see things with my third eye. God is always showing us things. He's always communicating. But for instance, my motorbike, I had filled up my motorbike a couple of times while I was there. And as I went out to take my last breakfast outside of my villa, my last bike ride, I looked down at the gas tank and I was basically empty. That was it. I had used all the gas. There was nothing wasted. As I went to make my last meal there, I used the last of my produce, the last of my sprouts, the last of my salad, the last, or lettuce rather, the last of my tomatoes, the last of my onions, the last of my olive oil. Everything came to a perfect end. There was no wastage. There was nothing to get rid of. It was all used the last hours I was there. Even down to my coffee. The last spoon of coffee that I used, and literally the last cream of oat milk for my coffee was the end. I had my last cup of coffee and I was able to recycle the carton and clean out the jar and leave that to be reused. Everything ended perfectly. Down to the body wash that I use in the shower. My last few drops of body wash ended with my last shower before I left. And what does that mean? I mean, to me, it means so many things. It meant, for one, how do I explain it? It's almost like everything that I was given, everything that I purchased was mathematically perfectly aligned. I didn't overestimate and buy more than I was going to need. I didn't underestimate and buy less than I would need. I bought precision, exactly what I needed. But again, that precision comes from what? It comes from the alignment with my source. It was precision math, and I couldn't have known that otherwise. It also means like all the resources that I needed were there, and nothing was wasted. And when I landed back home, I would be replenished again with all the resources that I need there. Meaning the resources will always come. Everything that I need will always show up in the moment that I need it. Why? Because I am aligned with God. Why? Because I wait on God for everything. So God shows me in reality what it looks like to be waiting on God. It means I will be replenished when I need to be replenished. All the resources will be available when I need them. And when I don't need them, they won't be there. I only need what I need when I need it. when I shared this with Aaron last night, you know what he told me came to him? He said, I see that the entire time this trip was used for your highest good, for the highest benefit. And because of that alignment, that highest good, that highest benefit, everything that was available to you was used to the utmost, to the max. Right? Like, and how does it translate to you? Like, that's some magic, right? I mean, I thought so. Even down to the last deodorant. Now, I'm going to tell you, I bought a little glass thing of deodorant, right? And you could see, it was a roll-on, you could see the liquid in the jar. And the last few days I was there, I could see the liquid very low. And I thought, should I go out and buy another one? And then I was like, wait a minute, but I think I can make it. No, I think this is going to be enough. I want to test this theory. And do you know, I used the last of that deodorant on my last flight as I was refreshing, getting ready to land in LA. I kind of washed up and used the last of the deodorant and I tossed it in the bathroom wastebasket. All my resources were there as I needed them, and as I didn't need them anymore, there was no wastage. Everything came to like a zero. That is what God does when you're living aligned with Him, when you are waiting on Him. So, could I just pack up and leave? Sure. But don't I know better to wait on God to say when and to say how? Absolutely. This is what it means to really wait on God. I'm not religious. I have an intimate, authentic relationship with our Maker, your Maker and mine. I'm living the talk. I'm not just talking the talk. No, I'm actually living the talk. Are you? Are you waiting on God? When God brings you through obstacles, through challenges, will you just be frantic and choose the route that you think is best for you? Or will you do yourself a service and understand that if God is not blessing you or giving a certain outcome, perhaps it's because He wants to give you more? Will you not settle for your way and do things according to God's way, waiting on Him to say when? If you do, you will find yourself in the ultimate, the biggest, most expansive life, living dreams that you haven't even had the thought yet to dream of. You'll be living dreams that only God Himself can gift, ones that you didn't have the capacity to even think of yourself. That's what it means to wait on God. So with that being said, I'm going to go into prayer, I'm going to go into meditation, and I'm going to collaborate with God on my next move. Because I know I'm moving, but only God knows when. Thank you so much for those who have continued to share and comment and engage with this podcast. Thank you for those who have found us on YouTube. If you haven't done so yet, please, I encourage you to join us there. Also, our new followers on Spotify, thank you. I see you. Thank you so much for making our podcast shareable. Please review. We need more reviews to reach those that may need God's encouragement, His wisdom, His insight. Until next time, love yourself and love others. We'll chat again soon. Bye for now.